Welcome to the sixth setup tutorial for the pension school model. We've already gone over how to set up the family tree, how to add in people, relationships, how to add in new assets, pension schemes, how to amend loans and jobs. You've already got. What we're going to look at now is the expenditure pane here of all the different outgoings we have. So if I select on Mr. Smith, who has the most of all these expenditures, and we look at the top one here, drink. This is probably his daily coffee. So if we go on to edit details of spending item, you can see a few simple things there, but I'll select the advanced button and we can look at all the different things you can do. So I can call it, say, change the name to coffee, because this is the daily coffee is going to have. The amount 250, so we could change that to 270. How that increases, so it might not increase at all, it might increase with RPI, it might increase with sort of generic food prices, or there's various different indices there we can use. I'm going to leave it at RPI for the time being. Start date, as long as that's in the past, that's going to be okay and give us a valid number. Finish date, that's so far in the future, it's basically effectively long after he's dead, so that means that will just go on forever. Adder, I can actually add a percentage increase over and above inflation to the amount it increases. Here I can change the frequency that he has this expenditure item, so you can make it each working day rather than each day or each week. I'm going to leave it on each day for the time being. I can also do a secondary increase, so if it's not just RPI but increases at, say, RPI and something else like national average earnings or food prices here, I can add in that secondary increase. For the time being, I'm going to put that back to RPI, so it just increases at RPI, and I'm going to weight the secondary increase as 0. That doesn't matter because the secondary increase is the same as the primary increase, and it can be it can be affected by different currencies as well. So here I'm going to say, for argument's sake, put in that it's impacted by changes in the value of the euro, and I can change the weighting of that between pounds and euros there. Probability of payment, so some items you're only going to have occasionally, but not particularly on a regular basis, but just more sort of ad hoc. So I'm going to say that's the case here, and I'm going to say the morning coffee is something I have on approximately 1 in 3 days. Standard deviation of the adder, so this comes back to the increases here, so there's no additional increase over RPI here, and the standard deviation of the adder means I can actually put some variation around how much that increases, just to add a bit of some randomness into the model to make it a bit more realistic. So in this occasion I'm going to leave that as 0. The increase type, it can be increased continually or annually, or just increase when it reaches a round number to simulate how key pricing actually works. I'm going to leave that as annual for the time being. And conditionality, now different items I can always spend because I've just got to spend them, like for example council tax. Some things I only spend when I've actually, as much as I've got available. That might be like say summer holiday, and some things I'll only actually spend if I've got the money to spend on that item. So that's the case here with the coffee. I'm not going to buy my morning coffee if I haven't got any money, so that enables me to actually control expenditure, and you'll see that come up in whether that money's actually been spent. And how this expenditure item terminates, well, some will terminate on retirement or unemployment. For example, transport costs would be a typical example of that. Terminates on death, that's probably the case here because I'm going to keep having my morning coffee. Or transfers to spouse on death, that's for example like childcare costs, which don't go away when you die, they will move to your spouse. But I'm going to leave this on terminates on death because that's probably the most appropriate. Then just select OK there, and you can see the value's gone up to 270. The graph's actually gone down slightly, you'll notice there, and there's a 38% there. That's the probability of payment. And you can see in the pie chart over here, just highlighted there, so it's not a huge amount of expenditure, and that's largely because I've put the probability down to 38%. So that shows how I can change the value of these different expenditure items. I can also quite easily delete one. So for example, if I've given up playing sport because I can't afford it, I just remove that. Something else I might, like lunch there, I might temporarily suspend for a while. So I'm going to change this to only spending monies in my current account. Now if I look at edit details of spending this item, I can see that's changed there to spend if enough in current account. And I could also, for example, given it's lunch, I'm going to put my secondary weighting there as food. So food prices will vary slightly differently from retail prices. So you'll see that variation come through as the model runs forward. And I can do that with any of these items. Things like childcare costs, for example, edit details of that. You'll see that's already set up to finish at 2026, which is basically the date when Thomas becomes 18 years old. So it's assuming that childcare costs will then vanish in respect of Thomas. But I can make that when he's age 16, or make that when he's age 21, depending on how long I think he'll be financially dependent. Okay, and that's pretty simple to see how those different things can be affected. I can just list them by things which are every day, things which are each working day, things which are each week, things which are each month, and things which are each year. So that gives you an idea of how I can actually change the expenditure items under the pension school model.